for our special program with His Holiness Swayam Bhagavan Keshava Swami Maharaj. Let us welcome him by loudly chanting Haribo! Maharaj, please. There's space up here. Please all move a little bit in so we can fill it out. Yeah, we usually try to have the ladies on this side and the men on this. Prabhuji very kindly reminded me of this policy. That means also the Prabhus have to come to this side, yeah. Anyone here for the first time? Wow, welcome. What is your name? Yeah. Warm welcome, very nice. I'd like to give a brief introduction about Maharaj. His Holiness Swayam Bhagavan Keshava Swami is a disciple of His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Swami. He's a sannyasi, a renounced monk, who has dedicated his life for spreading the teachings of the Vedic scriptures. And he has been practicing for almost 3 decades, Bhakti Yoga. And he's been sharing all over the world. Maharaj has written over 10 books, and he's very famous for developing educational courses. And just in the last few years, Maharaj has taken over the social media with wisdom that breathes. He's very popular there, reaching out to thousands of people, sharing content from the Bhakti Yoga tradition. Maharaj has just been for a year at the Harvard Divinity School. He's been studying there, and he just came out, and he's traveling again on world tour. He's coming from Africa on way to Bhakti retreat in Kiental in the Swiss Alps. And as usual, he's stopping by for a few days. Thank you so much, Maharaj. And Maharaj, we spoke before about what should be the topic. And I was suggesting a topic which I found is quite relevant. We often speak about it in the devotional society. It's the golden age. And sometimes when we look out in the world today, we wonder, what does it actually mean, the golden age? Because there's a lot of conflict, a lot of difficulties. And so we hope that Maharaj can shed some light on this topic.
Thank you so much, Nanda. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Wherever I go, the rain always seems to follow me. I think it's part of my London karma. But actually it's auspicious, yeah. I was going to say that. Like nowadays in the world, when it rains, we always think it's a bad thing. But actually in natural civilization, when it rains, it's an exhibition or an indication of regeneration, of vitality, of blossoming to come. So anyway, it's all good. Thank you so much. So yes, we'll be talking about the golden age. In the next hour, we'll tell you the future of the universe. Let's see, maybe something. So for those of you here for the first time, before we begin any spiritual discourse, we sing a song which is about a transcendent world, an eternal world. The Christian writer C.S. Lewis said, "If I find in myself a desire which no experience of this world can fulfill, then I can only conclude I was made for another world." And so this beautiful song, Jaya Radha Madhav, tells us of another world, a beautiful world, a world called Vrindavan, the playground of Krishna. Once I was in Vrindavan and I was leaving, and one of the residents of Vrindavan told me, "Why are you leaving?" I said, "I have to go back to London, to the rain." And he said, "All reality outside of Vrindavan is a dream. And all dreams inside of Vrindavan are a reality." So maybe there's some deep truth to that. But here we are in this world, so we are making the most of it, and it's always good to remind ourselves we're on a journey. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Om Jnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Grantharaj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Hare Krishna again, everyone. Thank you for coming. So this evening we're discussing the dawning of the Golden Age. It's very, very interesting that astrologers, prophets, fortune tellers, religious texts have always sought to tell us what is to come in the future. There's two things that people are constantly fascinated by and constantly confused by: the past and the future. And therefore practically nobody is living in the present. So the future is such a compelling thing for people to try to understand. Where is it all going to end up? Not just their own life, but the universal world. Everyone is very incredibly curious. So there have been many people who have done this. Who do you think the most famous person is in the world who talked about the future? Nostradamus. Yeah, that's the name that usually comes first. Nostradamus was an interesting personality. He wrote a book of 1,000 verses. And in these 1,000 verses, he predicted so many things about the future. And people have looked at his predictions, analyzed them, broken them down, looked between the words, looked between the lines, see whether what he was saying was actually true. Some people say he predicted Napoleon. He predicted Hitler. Some people even say he predicted 9/11 and COVID-19, apparently. And according to Nostradamus, Nostradamus even has a year in which the world is going to end. Do you want to know the year when the world is going to end, according to Nostradamus? 3797, something like that. It's a little bit far away, so don't worry. So it's very interesting. People have thought about this for ages. And the Vedic scriptures also talk about the future. So if you want to understand about Kali Yuga, the current age that we're living in, or what we may have to look forward to, then generally there's three primary sources of that information. The most popular one that we all know about is the Srimad Bhagavatam 12th canto, chapter 2. Maybe I'll read something from there just to keep you awake. Scared. The second canto of the 12th chapter talks about Kali Yuga and the predictions to come. There's a fairly substantial section in the Vishnu Purana which also talks about the Kali Yuga. And there's also multiple sections in the Mahabharata which talk about Kali Yuga. And so some time ago, actually, I was researching Kali Yuga, so as you do. So I put these three side by side. Like I said, I pulled all the verses from these three sources and put them side by side. It's fascinating because they basically echo each other. It's very, very clear. Whatever you read in the Bhagavatam is echoed in the Puranas and the Itihas in terms of what is to come in Kali Yuga. Of course, we also have another very famous book, a Purana called the Bhavishya Purana, which is literally the Purana of the future. But it's been called into question many times because of the potential of interpolation and other things. But the other three are very authentic and very widely accepted. So many things are said about Kali Yuga. There's one interesting story that comes up if you want to get a flavor of what Kali Yuga has in store for all of us. It's not actually a story which is found in the Mahabharata. It's likely a Puranic story which is a supplement to it. But the story tells us that Yudhishthira, as we know, was a very, very wise king, very, very known for his incredible perceptive ability. So one day a person looking very, very confused came to see Yudhishthira, and obviously he wanted some answers. And so on that particular day, Bhima was guarding Yudhishthira's door. And so he turned up and he said, I need to see Yudhishthira. Bhima said, no, he's taking rest. You can't see him at the moment. And he said, no, I must see. I'm extremely confused. I've observed certain things and I don't know what to make of it. I need answers. And Bhima said, well, I'm here. Just ask me. And the person said, well, no, I don't think you'll be able to give me the answers. He said, try me. And if I can't, then you can go in. So the person said, I've seen four things in society and I'm baffled. He said, the first thing is I saw an agricultural field which was surrounded by fences, but the fences were constantly coming in. There you go, some sound effects there as well. I don't know what the meaning of this is. So Bhima was also confused. Then he said, the second thing I saw is a person who had a pot of water. And what this person did is emptied the pot of water into 8 jugs. And then what they did is they emptied the 8 jugs back into the pot of water, and it was only half full. We said, I don't know what to make of this. Bhima was confused. Bhima said, carry on. I don't think I'm going to be able to answer this, but carry on anyway. He said, the third thing I saw was a person who was threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. And he succeeded. But then the tail got stuck. I'm getting some good sound effects today. This is good. And it's very... And he said, the fourth thing I saw was a boulder, and everyone was just struggling to move the boulder. And then a sadhu, a saintly person, came and just flicked his chadar, and with the thread of the chadar, he somehow pulled the boulder and it moved. Bhima said, be my guest. You can go in, or you ask you this, I have no idea what this is all about. So anyway, the man went in. After some time, he came out looking very content, very happy, very satisfied. And he just walked right past Bhima. Bhima said, yo, hang on, where are you going? He said, I'm done, I'm good, I'm satisfied, I got my answers. He said, yeah, can you tell me? So then the man began to tell him the answers. And he said, Yudhishthira told me, it's clear, Kali Yuga is coming. And these are signs of Kali Yuga. He said the field protected by the fences that is now constantly coming in signifies that in Kali Yuga, the people who are meant to protect you will become your biggest threat. They'll become often your biggest enemy. They'll be the ones who are exploiting you. They'll be the ones who are actually your covert enemies. That may mean leadership, world leadership. It may mean even loved ones or people we look up to. People who are natural protectors of society become the exploiters of people. And this perhaps is the beginning of all degradation, actually. When leadership is corrupted, then everything else is corrupted. That's where it all begins. And then he said the pot of the jug that went into the pot that went into 8 jugs and then came back and it was only half full. He said this signifies love. The second problem of Kali Yuga is love, because this represents that people will pour themselves out and give so much to their children, to their family, to their loved one, to their lovers, whatever it may be. But then the reciprocation is maximum half. You feel like you give so much, but you don't get the reciprocation you were expecting. They call it in the word unrequited love. So this is Kali Yuga. And he said the next thing, the elephant that went through the eye of the needle, but the tail got stuck. He said, yes, this is clear. It's clear what this means. It means in Kali Yuga, the big thieves will get away scot-free, and all the small guys will get caught. It's very interesting. Even I think Hitler's PR person, he said, if you're going to tell a lie, tell a big lie. Because if you tell a big lie, somebody will think, he can't be lying about that. But if you tell a small lie, everyone will analyze it very closely. So it's like that. The big thieves, those who are exploiting on a big level, often they're the ones that go free, and the small ones get caught. I remember once I was on book distribution, and it was Christmas time, so the police are all around because so many things are going on. And then there was one 13-year-old boy, and he was riding on his bike in a pedestrian street. And 4 armed police with like machine guns stopped this 13-year-old kid on a bike, and they said, "You're not allowed to ride your bike." And I was like, my God, this is like, as Prabhupada would say, killing a mosquito with a what do you call it, like a hammer or something, a sledgehammer. It's like over the top, you know. And then the final one, the boulder couldn't move, but then the thread of the chadar of a saintly person. And Yudhishthira said to the man that this represents the weight of the imperfections that are there in Kali Yuga, and nobody can resolve them but the thread of the holy name, which is so unassuming, which is so available, but people don't take advantage of it. He says this, Asti Hyeko Mahan Guna, this is the great quality that by divine vibration, Mukta Sangha Padambra Jade, everything can be, you can be liberated from all of this. So this was his conclusion. So, yes, if you read the Bhagavatam, then so many things are said like this about Kali Yuga, about the time we're living in. And so maybe I can read to you a few of the verses. So if you want to read the actual full description, then it's the second chapter of the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam, but you'll find it to be very, very, very telling. And so this is how it begins. Kali Yuga. O King, religion, truthfulness, cleanliness, tolerance, mercy, duration of life, physical strength, and memory will all diminish day by day because of the powerful influence of the age of Kali. So all of these things, I think it's all clear in this one. Religion is going down. That's at least religious membership is definitely going down. Truthfulness, I won't lie about that one. That's obviously cleanliness, tolerance. I guess the only one that may be brought into question here is duration of life. Some people may say duration of life in many parts of the world is increasing. But if you look, like sometimes you may look at a graph and it's up and down like this, but then when you zoom out, it's basically like this. So like there may be some minor fluctuations of this or that, or but if you basically look at duration of life, especially if we look at Vedic understanding of time, then clearly duration is decreasing, even if it goes up 10, 15 years here or there. Basically, overall, it's diminishing. So everything, memory diminishes. That's a very clear one. In the previous times, it's even said a learned person is known as Bahu Shruta in Sanskrit, literally one who has heard a lot. Because if you've heard a lot, then it's understood. You heard means you memorized, you understood. And therefore a learned person is Bahu Shruta because all they had to do was Shruta. They just had to hear. And they were known as Shruti Dharas, which means, Dhara means the ability to hold. So just by hearing, the ability to hold. I remember once I went to try to learn Sanskrit. I'm on my 5th attempt to learn Sanskrit, and I'm dangerously close to failing again. But I remember one of the first times I went to learn Sanskrit, I went into the class with a notepad and everything, and the first thing the teacher said, no notepad. Everything through listening. I was like, how do you learn without a notepad? And that was the system, all done through hearing. So an incredible ability to hold, an incredible ability to assimilate information. Next verse. Wealth alone will be considered the sign of a man's good birth. If you're wealthy, that means you're good. You're good. You kind of see this actually. I don't know. I can only speak from my cultural upbringing, from like Indian background. But it's very funny. Like when Indian parents are looking for a husband for their daughter, like the very first thing they look at is their job and salary. It's like forget the character, forget all the other stuff. Like what's their job, and how much do they earn? It's amazing how much emphasis people... And when someone is wealthy, and later on the Bhagavatam will also say when someone is beautiful, it's very interesting. When someone is wealthy and someone's beautiful, somehow we take their words more seriously. It's a psychological thing. Somehow that's just how people are. Law and justice will be applied only on the basis of one's power. So there you go. Might is right. That happens in the world today. So like this, very, very interesting. I'll just say a few more. Men and women will live together merely because of superficial attraction, and success in business will depend on deceit. If someone's doing well in business, they must be deceived. I mean, it happens, right? Womanliness and manliness will be judged according to one's expertise in sex, and a man will be known as a brahmana just by wearing a thread. So, so many things like this are described. So this is Kali Yuga. This is the age that we're living in. The Shastras say 432,000 years, of which 5,000 years have elapsed. But then the Gaudiya Vaishnavas say that within the Kali Yuga there is a golden age. And the main evidence that's cited for this is a conversation that takes place in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, where Ganga Devi is personified, is basically saying that the first 5,000 years of Kali Yuga will be a steady decline. But then it seems to indicate, and it's not clear, it's very disputed, but it seems to indicate that after 5,000 years, there is 10,000 years where within the overall degradation of Kali Yuga, there is a kind of spiritual upliftment that takes place. And then the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the Acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Srila Prabhupada himself said that yes, from the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is basically a resurgence for 10,000 years in which many of the qualities of Satya Yuga are established even amongst the Kali Yuga, which in one sense continues to degrade, yet there is great spiritual opportunity and access to authentic spiritual consciousness within that time. So yes, this is mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The second verse tells us, Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Gaudadaya Pushpavanto Chitro Shando Tamo Nudo. So it's very beautifully explained by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. He says, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda have arisen on the horizon of Gauda just like the sun and moon. They've arisen simultaneously. Pushpavanto means it's like the sun and the moon have arisen simultaneously to dissipate the darkness of Kali Yuga. So this verse is very beautiful because the imagery that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is giving is a very beautiful imagery. He says the sun and the moon have arisen simultaneously. So the first thing that you see there in that kind of language is it's unprecedented. When does the sun and the moon arise at the same time? They arise at different times. They both give illumination. They both give hope. And what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying is that now you can understand the hope and the illumination that's given because the sun and the moon have arisen simultaneously. So that's the first very clear thing we see. Then it's very interesting in this verse, he says they have arisen on the horizon of Gauda to dissipate darkness. Now it's very interesting because Gauda, or Navadvip, where Gauranga and Nityananda appear, is actually an intellectual center. It's actually a place where people read scripture. It's almost like the spiritual, at least academic study of scripture and grammar and logic and all of those things. Navadvip is a center. But the interesting thing is here, Kaviraj Goswami says the darkness in Gauda. So even where there is study of scripture, even where there is so much access to all of this information, still people are overcome by darkness. And so he says Nityananda and Gora have come to dissipate that darkness. And this darkness also has an inner meaning, because he says their illumination is so great that they don't just illuminate the or free the environment from darkness, but their illumination is so great that they can also illuminate the darkness that is within the hearts of all the living entities. So that's this imagery of illumination is just compounded by Kaviraj Goswami's commentary on this. And then you can say sun and the moon are very interesting, because the moon signifies like a conclusion of a day, and the sun signifies the beginning of a day. And so even when Kaviraj Goswami says the sun and the moon have arisen, then he's almost like saying it's the conclusion and the beginning. It's a watershed, it's a turning point, it's a shift, it's a shift of era. So it's very interesting is when you look at this kind of, even if you think about the sun and the moon, they are universally accessible. There's nobody in the world that doesn't see the sun, that doesn't see the moon. They're seen in all parts of the world. So that again is very interesting, that Kaviraj Goswami uses the sun and the moon to depict how the spiritual process of Chaitanya and Nityananda will be seen by everyone. I mean, even if you think of the sun, where does the sun rise? It rises in the east, and then it goes to the west. So it's even interesting that Kaviraj Goswami uses the sun, because the spiritual movement of Gauranga and Nityananda rises in the east. But then, like the sun, Paschatya Desha, it then goes to the west, and then it just brings illumination across. So it's fascinating how Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in just one verse tells us so much about the nature of Gauranga and Nityananda just by using this very, very powerful imagery of the sun and the moon. So this is the dawning of the golden age. And of course, some people may say, but is it really happening? What do you think? Is it really happening? Is anything really changing? It's been 500 years since Gora and Nityananda came. We're 500 years into the golden age. And I don't know, how do you feel? Do you feel optimistic? Do you feel something's changing? Do you feel the sun and the moon have arisen? And sometimes people have doubts. What does this really mean? Is the Krishna consciousness movement really going to spread everywhere? Well, I would say I would look at this from a few perspectives. The first thing is, I would say there are many things in the world which are changing. Like some of the biggest trends in the world are very, very central to the Krishna consciousness movement. For example, vegetarianism, right? Like now I think they say 11% of Americans are vegetarian. Which is, if you think about it, that's a massive number. So if you think about things like vegetarianism are becoming widespread, right? If you think of something like yoga, Ryan told me the stats of yoga. What's the stats in America?
1 in 6.
1 in 6 Americans do yoga. Of course, the physical yoga, but they know something about yoga. Meditation, a mainstream word. Just to give you an idea of how widespread meditation is, Sadhguru, just put that out there for now. Sadhguru launched an app, Miracle of the Mind, his meditation app. When he launched his app, it received 1 million downloads in 19 hours. But just to give you some context, when ChatGPT launched its app, it took ChatGPT 5 days to get to 1 million downloads. So Sadhguru beat ChatGPT by 5 times by offering meditation. Now, what does that say? clearly this is a massive thing for people in the world. Karma is again a central, like people just is part of modern vocabulary now, karma. So if you think about it, someone may say, well, you guys are small, you're saying you're going to take over the world, you're just in some small room in Zurich, and there's what are you guys, it's just all wishful thinking. But if you look at actually the trends of the world, then we don't know how Krishna consciousness is going to expand and in what way a spiritual message will proliferate in the world. But we can say there are definitely clear trends to show that many of the core principles that we're trying to share to the world are very much what people are looking for. I often tell people the 3 types of reels that tend to go viral around self-development at least are around 3 things. What is my purpose? How can I find love? And how can I have better mental health? Now, if you think of those 3 things, how can I find my purpose? That's dharma. How can I find love? That's bhakti. And how can I have better mental health? That's sattva. So if you think about the Bhagavad Gita, if you were to use 3 words to talk about what Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, those are probably the 3 words you would use. Dharma is like it's the first and the last word of the Bhagavad Gita, dharma. Bhakti is the whole central aspect of the Bhagavad Gita. And sattva, Krishna spends 100 of 700 verses in the Bhagavad Gita talking about the modes of nature. So the point I'm making is that the Krishna consciousness movement may be spreading in ways that we're not even aware of. And in that way, this idea that there's a golden age, that spiritual knowledge will proliferate, could still be seen to be happening. Another thing to think of is that the way the world is wired now, an idea can spread very, very quickly. It's amazing how, overnight things or people or, just kind of become like a worldwide phenomenon. Like someone told me K-pop, Korean pop is like a craze. Like I've never even heard of that. Right? Is that true? Yes. Don't pretend like you don't know, Sid. Right? So apparently it's a craze, right? So like how does something just become a craze like so quickly? It's very interesting. The way the world is very, very connected, and something can proliferate very, very quickly. So we may not be able to even conceive of how Krishna consciousness could or may expand, but we see that phenomenon do expand very, very quickly. But the final thing is, I would say, the golden age, although a prophecy, requires the participants of the Krishna consciousness movement to deeply think about their role in effecting this spiritual proliferation in the world. And I would say each one of us have to think about different things so that we can actually be carriers of goodness, carriers of the beautiful message and knowledge that we've been given, and carriers of Gauranga and Nityananda, who are like the sun and the moon, and distribute that around the world. And I think for spreading Krishna consciousness, for effecting the golden age of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we need spiritual purity. We need, I would say, an understanding of the world that we're living in, a contemporary sensitivity to what's going on in the world. I would say we need to be we have to have emotional maturity in how we are as a community, how we relate to people, how we communicate and carry ourselves in the world. And then I think we have to have a tenacity, a determination to keep doing it, to be organized, to be intelligent, to be hardworking. Martin Luther King said, the people who want peace in the world have to be as organized and as intelligent as the people who want war. So I think the future of the Krishna consciousness movement is also, it's an individual thing. We also, instead of asking, is it happening? I think we need to also ask ourselves, what am I doing in my own life to be an ambassador, a participant within that revolution? And therefore I think spiritual purity, contemporary sensitivity to the world. We should know what's going on in the world. We should be informed. Emotional maturity and tenacity to really be hardworking in trying to do something beautiful for the world. And so I guess these are initially some of my thoughts on the Golden Age. So just to summarize before I open it up, the scriptures explain we're in 4 cosmic ages. We're currently in Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is 432,000 years. We're 5,000 years in. The degradation has begun. Different scriptures explain what that degradation looks like. But there are also accounts saying that within the degradation of the first 5,000 years, there's then a 10,000 year resurgence. That's the Golden Age. And that Golden Age is triggered by Gauranga and Nityananda. And is it happening? There are different ways to look at it. But yes, many of the principles of the Krishna consciousness movement are expanding. The opportunity is there. And perhaps the deeper question is, what am I doing as an individual to be part of that Golden Age? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so I'm going to stop there and just see whether you have any questions about Kali Yuga, about the Golden Age, about the future, about the Sankirtan movement, or anything else you would like to ask. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much. I admire your teachings. I see you walk the talk. But sometimes I have like a worm which comes into my head, like doubt, which is saying, why was he in the World Economical Forum? So maybe you could say something to this. Thank you.
I wasn't there last year. Yes, there are forums in the world, and see, I think we go to places where we feel we can have a spiritual influence, where we can change narratives, where we can perhaps meet people who want to do something beautiful for the world. I think whenever you think of anything, even whether it's the World Economic Forum or anything of the world, whether it's a government or whether it's a group of people, I think we can have a view of the general thing. And then I think we can also have a view that within that general thing, there are opportunities within in terms of meeting people and finding new avenues to share Krishna consciousness and change the narrative. One thing I strongly feel is that I think we need to be more in the world. We need to be more. People don't come to us to ask our opinion on world matters, right? We're not. Okay, I'll just be very honest here. If you ask most, I'm just using an American as an example because I've just been there. If you ask most people in America who are the Hare Krishnas, most people wouldn't know. I mean, they just don't know who we are. It's not even like good, bad, or they just don't know who we are. Of the people that know who we are, most people think we're nice, we're happy, we're kind of make good food. But they don't really take us seriously. We're not a serious voice in the world. They don't come to us for advice. They don't come to us and say, there's economic problems, there's environmental problems, what do you guys think? What solutions do you have? I mean, Srila Prabhupada, he saw Krishna consciousness as the solution to the world's problems. Economic, environmental, all of those things. Now the question is, I mean, even us in this room, if someone would come and ask you, what is the Krishna conscious perspective on creating better economies, would we really have an answer? What is your understanding of the best political systems by which to socially organize a society? Would we really have an answer? So the point I'm making is just that I feel there's a need for Krishna consciousness to appear in forums where, like it or not, there are powerful people who are making decisions and influencing the future of the world. And so that's why we go to such places and actually meet very incredible people. So I've only been to WEF once, just once. I may go again, we'll see how it goes. But on that one trip, we met amazing people actually who are actively doing things to spread Krishna consciousness actually in places that we would otherwise never be able to reach. So, like you could say, Harinam, for example, like why do we go to a German meat market and do a Harinam? I mean, we don't agree with German meat markets. Why do you go there to do Harinam? You may think that, well, maybe that's the place where they need it the most, right? So we'll go to Kumbh Mela to do a Harinam, we'll go to a German meat market to do a Harinam, we'll go to a World Cup match to do Harinam. Basically, we'll go anywhere where the people are. Show us people and we'll go. Because we're just interested in meeting people. And I guess WEF is one of those places. But it's kind of nice to go WEF because then I can come to Zurich and see all of you. Hope that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this inspiring lecture. Last year you were telling me I should stop to think small and think big. And you're such an inspiration for all of us, I think, of thinking big. And I think if I'm not wrong, maybe you can correct me if I might wrong. You once told in a lecture, I think, that a goal of yours is to make the Bhagavad Gita the most popular book in the world. And would you like to share with us some of your thoughts or your plans of spreading Krishna consciousness as far as possible?
That's a big question. See, I think wherever you go in the world, you have to use, first you have to understand, you have to study the people, you have to understand the world around you, the environment within you which you're functioning, and then build a strategy. So like if you say, what's the strategy for making the Bhagavad Gita the most popular book in the world? I think wherever you go in the world, you have to think about a different way to do it, because every part of the world is different. So for example, I was just in Africa now, so we were just traveling through East Africa. So we need a different strategy there. There are different needs, there are different pain points, there are different social concerns. There's a different cultural upbringing which may make certain things very easy to digest and certain things like totally very difficult. And it's different wherever you go. So I think often we don't spend the time to hear people enough. Right? I always say this, like you need to know people's needs, their interests, their concerns, their pain points, what are they struggling with, and then bring our scripture to them in a way that mitigates all of those things, or addresses all of those things. So yes, what can I say? Study the books very, very deeply, and then study people very, very deeply, and then figure out what are the bridges, what are the connection points. Right? So it's not just one or the other, but together. And so therefore, I mean, what is the strategy? Therefore I said spiritual purity, study deeply. Contemporary sensitivity, understand the world. Then I said emotional maturity, it's also how you relate and how we conduct ourselves as Hare Krishnas in our own communities. And then I think it's about just the tenacity to keep on trying. And I think that is the strategy. I believe if you do those 4 things, there's no way you can't be successful in spreading Krishna consciousness. If you have spiritual purity, if you know the world, if you're emotionally mature and balanced, and you're determined and you have tenacity, I can't imagine there's any way in which you wouldn't be successful in spreading Krishna consciousness. But we have to find what's the weakest link for me in all of those things that's stopping me from being a change maker in the world. Some thoughts. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for this amazing lecture. I find it super relevant. And I was just thinking about what you said about how devotees should be advisors and how people should want to come for advice to us. And sometimes when I think, when I read about, let's say, ideal societal systems in Bhagavatam, then I think about how these could actually be applied today, or how we could come there today. Because sometimes these things seem so far away. You mentioned ideal leadership model, and for us that would be having a monarchy led by a saintly king. But how is that in any way relatable to our current system? And we can't really suggest that to anyone. So how can we bridge the gap and also for our understanding, apply these ideal systems to today's age?
Yeah, I think, there are always universal things that you can share. So, for example, take leadership, because you've said that. So, you're talking about leadership systems, monarchy, anarchy, whatever it is, all these different ways of organizing. But we can come into the leadership discourse in a different way. Like, for example, Bhishma Dev on the bed of arrows, okay? He gives instructions. It's the longest section in the Mahabharata. Okay, it's about 365 chapters long, 14,000 verses. Bhishma Dev's instructions on the bed of arrows. And there he's talking so much about leadership, about principles, about the character, about the interactions that a leader has with citizens, about conflict resolution, so many different. So there's so many models we can bring into the world, like that immediately people could apply. Even if you say, like, we don't, to bring in an overarching system of leadership into the world seems like too far away. Why can't you enter the leadership discourse by just giving people relevant leadership advice that anyone can apply in their immediate situation, right? Like, we have I really feel like leadership is one of the best ways in which we can enter the discourse of the world, because there's such a leadership crisis in the world, and there's so much we have to say about leadership. Right? Like, if you just read the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam and you read about Prithu Maharaj, there's like chapters and chapters on what an ideal leader looks like. So it's about deeply digesting these things and then being able to present them. For example, that's what we did at the WEF. We were giving seminars on conscious leadership and conscious culture, and hundreds of people were coming, and they wanted to know. So so you have to look at the principles and see what people are struggling with and find a way to connect. Right.
Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you. Anyone else? No. Okay. Yes. Okay.
Yes, Maharaj, you mentioned about that one should do something beautiful for this world. And my question, if there is a desire to do for something for the mission of Srila Prabhupada, but how to understand correctly what should I do? So that it's not like some my speculation, but what Krishna wants me to do.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Of course, Narottam Das Thakur tells us, Guru Sadhu Sastra Vakya Chitete Koriya Aikya, that when our life is led by Guru Sadhu Shastra, then we can understand that our consciousness will be purified and will have clarity. And so if one has saintly people in their life, if one has guidance, if one deeply understands Krishna's message and Krishna's desires of us, then I think when all of those three things are in place, then it becomes a lot more clearer. What am I meant to do with my talents, with my time, with my energy? But the other thing is sometimes you just have to try things, right? Like Srila Prabhupada, one of his great, amongst all the amazing qualities of Srila Prabhupada, one of his great qualities was that he was just willing to continually go into the unknown and try new things. When Srila Prabhupada was in India and it wasn't working out, then Prabhupada decided, I'm going to go into the unknown, I'll go to America. When Prabhupada came to America, he arrived in Butler, Pennsylvania. But then when it didn't work there, Prabhupada said, I'm going to go into the unknown. I'll go into New York. So then Prabhupada came to New York, and then he came to the kind of upper New York, Dr. Mishra's apartment. And there Prabhupada saw, it's not working here, it's not happening. So then Prabhupada said, I'll go into the unknown, I'll go into the Lower East Side. And so if you look at Prabhupada's life, he's constantly going into the unknown. He's constantly experimenting. He's constantly trying new things. And so I just feel like sometimes we try, we just try to overthink it, but we just have to get out there. We have to start doing things. We have to be sincere, and we have to keep our ears and eyes open to the guidance of Guru and Sadhu, and then we are guided, and then we know where we need to. So sometimes when you go to Vrindavan and you go in January, it's very, very misty, so you can only see as far as like your hand. But then when you walk as far as your hand, then you can see another hand, like that much more, and then that much more. And so maybe life is like that. Maybe we won't figure out the master plan at any one moment in time of what I'm meant to contribute. But maybe what we can do is start waking up every day and say, what contribution can I make today? And trust that every service that we do is leading us to a greater service. So yeah, those are some thoughts. All right. Prabhu had a question.
Thank you, Maharaj, for hello, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you for Maharaj for explaining very nicely. You kind of answered my question too. Actually, my question would be, nowadays the world there's so many natural disasters, and so many people are suffering from all these natural disasters. And so, what is our attitude, and what is our the right word would be what should be our correct approach? Because when people are maybe suffering from natural disaster, maybe they are suffering so much, and they don't really have time to think about Hare Krishna. They're trying to make ends meet, and they're trying to have like other urgent matter, and how we should engage, or how we should what's the direction, how we should serve these people. Maybe this would be my question.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Krishna.
Well, I think the first thing is when there are natural disasters in the world, according to Vedic theology, we understand that Bhumi or Earth is the mother, nature is divine, nature is sentient. And therefore, whenever nature reacts back in any way in the form of a natural disaster, it's usually a reaction to mistreatment of the earth. And therefore, we have to look very closely at how we're drilling into the earth, how we're burning up the earth, how we're stripping the earth of so many resources, or how we're filling the earth with rubbish or plastic or whatever it may be. And how the natural disasters that we're encountering in the world is a reaction to the mistreatment that we're lending the earth, because the earth is conscious, so the earth will react. So I think that's the first thing we can look at and use it as a very a powerful way for each one of us to introspect. I think we need to do that because I think sometimes when we look at like natural disasters and world events, and we just think it's something that's happening and it's completely disconnected from me as a person. But I think when each one of us deeply think, what role can I play to make it better? I think that's a very good reflection for each one of us. So I would say that's the first thing. And then, the second thing is we realize that the world is wired in such a way as to help us to elevate our consciousness and bring us out of this entire realm of the material world, which is one big disaster zone. So we understand that, yes, there are natural disasters in the world, but actually the whole material world is a disaster zone. And every single disaster within the bigger disaster zone of the material world is meant to help us to understand that there's something different we need to be doing, and there's a different place that we need to be aiming our consciousness towards. And so that's how we see suffering in that light, that pain is pushing us towards progress. And we have to try to share that message with compassion, with sensitivity. And as you mentioned, we need to help people on every level, right? So like when people are suffering, we need to also perhaps do some physical and other work to support them along with the spiritual. So in this way, I think we can become welfare workers for the world. So these are some thoughts.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for encouraging us to contribute to a golden age, which is so nicely connected to the Sankirtan movement, where it's really about us participating actively. And I want to ask a question in this connection. I find it, we know that it needs both. We need to, in the Sankirtan movement, we have to nourish ourselves and we have to go out and share. And the two are meant to nourish each other. I find it challenging often being in the world, dealing with people, and I see this tendency of often wanting to retreat, like this is too much. And I think you're very good in, you go out, like you went to the WEF, and you're obviously still
live to tell the tale.
Maybe you can share some advice how to become more fixed up in this regard.
Once the devotees were distributing books profusely, and they knew, Prabhupada said, when you send the book scores to me, it gives me life. So they were sending, Rameshwar Prabhu tells this, they were sending their scores to Prabhupada. And he said on one occasion, Prabhupada became so happy. And he said, Prabhupada said something very, very beautiful. Prabhupada said, this is all a transcendental drama. And I'm writing the script, and all of you are playing the parts. So I thought that was actually very, very profound. Prabhupada said, this is all a transcendental drama, and I'm writing the script, and all of you are playing the parts. I think we need to begin to see how all the forums and the places and the environments in which we find ourselves, we're not there randomly. There's something for me to do there. There's someone for me to meet. Just using the example of WEF, we went there and we were supposed to be there for like, I think 5 days. So for 3 days I was there, and if I'm honest with you, I was like, after 3 days I was like, oh my God, like why am I here? Like, this is totally ineffective. I feel like totally like in the wrong place. But then I just thought, no, maybe, you know, it was all arranged, it all came to this, there must be something. And then on the 4th day, we just met, I can't say public here, but we just met an incredibly influential person. She was sitting in a leadership class we were giving, unassuming, very humble, royalty. And she came up at the end and said, it's amazing what you're doing. We want you to come to our country. And anyway, from there it's just built up. And I'm very small, very insignificant. But I've seen that on so many occasions that it's a drama. It's Krishna magic. There's something that's waiting to happen. So I think the way, if we see everything as mundane, if we see like this is the material world, everyone's a non-devotee, they're going to pull me down, I'm just like, why am I here? I wish I was with the devotees chanting, you know. If you see it like that's what you'll experience. But if you begin to see, I'm here, I'm with these people, Krishna has some plan. You know, like Prabhupada said, why have you brought me to this terrible place? Most of the population here is absorbed in the material modes of passion and ignorance. I don't know why you've brought me here, but you must have some purpose. Prabhupada says, I'm thinking, you must have some purpose. Otherwise, why would you bring me here? So I think when we're in that mood, magical things begin to happen. Adyapiha Shaili Lakaha Gauraroy, Kona Kona Bhagyavan, Deki Bharapoy. Mahaprabhu's pastimes are going on even today. But one must say, I'm going to enter, I'm here, something's going to happen. And I think when we're in that positive mood, looking to serve, looking for opportunities to share, then I think beautiful, amazing things happen. I had the fortune in my life to be on altars worshipping deities. I had the fortune in my life to be in holy dhams, I had even fortune in my life to be around the most exalted personalities. But if I'm totally honest with you, the times when I felt the closest interaction with Krishna was when I was out there in the world trying to serve by bringing a message of Krishna to people who needed it. The most mystical, magical, memorable, moving events of my life didn't take place in temples. And they didn't even take place in the association of devotees. Nothing against devotees. We love the devotees, and it's always been very beautiful. But there is something very special, some way in which Krishna becomes very, very active. And it is hard. We're human, right? It's like even Prabhupada, when he came to America, every day he said he was going to the pier and inquiring, when is the next ship going back? When is the next ship going back? So you see, like, it's very, I always find that very touching, because it shows, like, maybe Prabhupada was also showing a human side. Yeah, we get disappointed sometimes. Yeah, we feel like, but Prabhupada never got on the ship back. He just checked out the timings. But he never went back, because he said, I'm going to go, because Krishna has brought me here for a reason. So sometimes we feel down, but then we say, no, Krishna has brought me here for a reason. There's something here. Something's going to happen. So yeah, you have to see it as a transcendental drama. Otherwise it becomes too depressing, you know. Oh, I'm out there, it's like, it's Kali Yuga, it's terrible, everything's bad, all the odds are against me. No, it's a drama. Like, I'll just say one last thing on this. I had different Sankirtan leaders over the years, and they each had their own path. So I remember one Sankirtan leader used to, like, you know, before we used to start in a town, he'd get us in the hut and he'd say, okay, Prabhu, it's hard out here, it's hard. People are hard, people are miserable, the weather's bad, but we're going to surrender, we're going to do this, work now, samadhi later. It was like really that kind of mood, you know. So it was like, I didn't fully, and then we had another Sankirtan leader, and he would get us in a huddle before we began for the day, and he'd say, guys, this is not Kali Yuga, this is Chaitanya Yuga. We're out here, there's a drama. Mahaprabhu is here with us. Something amazing is going to happen. So I always connected more with that mood, right, than the other one. So it's an adventure, it's a beautiful thing. But we have to be active. We have to be active participants in the whole thing. All right, some thoughts. Thank you. All right, yeah, cool.
You mentioned the example before of Srila Prabhupada always going out to the unknown to make some bigger step, and you also mentioned now in the lecture that there were kind of challenges, and if we compare ourselves with the caliber of Srila Prabhupada, and if he experienced some challenges, then we may get discouraged to also make some bigger unknown steps. So how can we get the courage to go on and to actually start and to go out in the unknown?
I would see it in a different way, as I was saying. I would see that, you know, the pure devotees are almost empathizing with us. Like, for example, Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, you know, Amar Jivan Sadepape Rata Nahiko Punya Relesha. You know, my whole life is full of sin. There's nothing good in me. When I see other people unhappy, I become happy. When I see other people happy, I become unhappy. So when we read this, we realize that the pure devotees are coming to our level to empathize with us. But then what they're doing is they're showing us how to respond to that, you know. So then, you know, yes, Prabhupada had obstacles, it wasn't working, people were against him. I think it's not so much about looking at the obstacles that Prabhupada had, but look at his reaction to it. Right? Prabhupada never became discouraged. He never became fatigued. He never became a victim. He never gave up. But yes, he empathized with us. He showed us through his example that sometimes we may feel like this, but so yes, I think you know, if a path doesn't have any obstacles, then it doesn't lead anywhere significant, right? So if you're getting opposition, it's a good thing. If there are obstacles, it's a good thing, and it's part of your growth. Yeah, hope that helps.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, sometimes we want to spread Krishna consciousness and give Krishna consciousness to the whole world, but sometimes, often, when we work outside, we can see that non-devotees, they are much more organized and together than we are in ISKCON. And then it's a little bit difficult, you know, we want to give something, you know, the best, but...
Yeah. Do you have any solutions?
I'm asking you.
Yeah, we have to learn. We have to learn from others. Learn how, you know, we can learn something good from everyone. Cooperation is not an easy thing. You know, in Kali Yuga, the ego is so big. And disunity is our biggest problem, I think, in ISKCON. It's the biggest problem. And the amazing thing is it pervades every level of our movement, you know, from like, you know, families to, you know, friends, to small projects that are going on, to, you know, managerial temples, to like the, you know, on the highest level of ISKCON leadership, to maintain unity somehow, and to operate together, very difficult. You know, like there's this famous letter where Prabhupada, or this famous pastime where Prabhupada said, you know, your love for me will be shown by how you cooperate. So the interesting backstory to that comment of Prabhupada was that a devotee had written a letter to Prabhupada, and the devotee in the letter had written to Prabhupada that in the Bhagavatam there was, I think it's Puru and Yayati, right? Yayati gave his youth to Puru. Is that the way it was? I think that's the way it was, yeah. So Puru was getting old, and Yayati said, I will give my youth to you, and I will go old and I will die, because you can do something with the youth better than me. So the devotee had written to Prabhupada and said, just as Yayati gave his youth to you, I want to give my youth to you, Prabhupada. So you can carry on your work and I'll die. And when Prabhupada read that, he said, that is very nice, but your love for me will be shown by how you cooperate. So this is very interesting that Prabhupada said that in response to that, because what that basically means is that it's more of an austerity to cooperate than to die. Right? You can die, physically you can die, but to cooperate, So yeah, we have to be organized, we have to put our ego to one side, we have to be agents of bringing people together. Otherwise, we're working against each other. How much energy and time is lost in our movement from devotees fighting? It's actually incredible. It's actually incredible how much time and energy is lost just fighting with each other. So I think this is a massive challenge. It's a massive challenge. And you know, when all the prachetas had gone underground, under the water, and meditated for 10,000 years, they did all the austerities, they did all the mantras, they did all everything. And when they emerged from the water, the Lord said, I'm very happy with you because of your friendly relationships amongst each other. Not because of your austerity, not because of your, your incredible spiritual practice, but because somehow or other you guys stayed under 10,000 years underwater and you maintained friendly relationships. So if we're walking around trying to avoid people, if we have negativity towards others, it's not a good sign. So yeah, we need to be better organized, we need to have better unity. Some thoughts. Okay. All right, I think time is going on, so maybe we should stop here. Is it? Yeah, I think we'll stop here and then we'll continue in the coming days. Thank you very much, everyone. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Holiness Swami Bhagavan Keshava Swami Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Beyond my expectations, the golden age. So this was just basically the adivas of the coming days, the inauguration. We have marched here tomorrow as well, and there's a small change in the newsletter. We've informed that we have Bhakti Vigna Vinashan Swami coming tomorrow morning. He's not coming, so Maharaj will give also the morning Chaitanya Charitamrita class. Haribol! And then Maharaj will also speak at 12:45 to the Tamil Society in English, not in Tamil, so you can come as well there. And then at 4 o'clock he will give the Sunday feast class before he will go up to the Kiental retreat. So please, if you can, come. Otherwise, you probably seen we have a camera. We do live stream. On YouTube you can find us on Krishna Temple Zurich. And also for the Bhakti retreat, maybe some of you are not going. You can find all the things live streamed there, correct?
It is on the same YouTube channel, Krishna Temple Zurich. You will find all the streams of the Bhakti retreat.
Now I go to this side. Maharaj also, some of his assistants brought some books. Maharaj, as I mentioned in the beginning, he has written over 10 books and just some new ones came out. Also, he has the whole collection. Maybe Ryan, yeah? You want to speak
and I'll hold them? Okay. So Hare Krishna, everyone. So we have Gita 3 here. This is a great introductory handbook to the Bhagavad Gita, especially for those who are new, and then for people who maybe facilitate groups at their home. This is a great workbook to introduce people to because there's a lot of interactive exercises and it goes through the Gita from a few different perspectives. Next, we have Book Bhagavat, which is a great guidebook for the Srimad Bhagavatam, as you can see in a very concise and compact way relative to the size of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we have many copies of these available. Then we have the Chaitanya Charitamrita Compact, which is the CC in a very concise version. So for anyone who struggles to find the time to read, this can be a nice place to start. Tattva is a collection of personal reflections from Maharaj, many blog posts, other reflections that are consolidated to explore the truth of Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, of our philosophy. Very accessible for people of all levels as well. Gita Life is another Gita summary. Entering Eternity is a very new book, just released, 2 months ago, something like this. And it's a deeply devotional book about Maharaja's journey, 30 days on Vraj Mandal Parikrama, exploring the pastimes of Sri Vrindavan Dham. So we have just a few copies of these available, but would love for you to pick one up if you like. And then last but certainly not least, Loving Life, Embracing Death, for anyone who knows Janakinath Prabhu, about his life story and Maharaja's relationship with him and what it was like with him transitioning on and leaving his body. So really powerful, especially for anyone dealing with grief in their own life or looking for inspiration in life as well. So all of these will be available if you want to raise your hand. Vera will be outside as well. If you have any questions, you can talk to both of us. And they're very affordable prices. We can accept cash as well as card as well.
Thank you so much. I was very happy to see this book. I actually saw Maharaj going through the parikrama. Also, Siddheshwar Prabhu was there. And I'm definitely going to buy this. So thank you all very much. It's actually nice to see many of you came back for the retreat, and I'm sure we'll have wonderful moments. Now we're going to serve prasadam. Adi Keshava Prabhu, we serve inside or outside? Inside, yeah, it was raining. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Vancha Kalpa. Dear devotees, those of you who like to take a book, Maharaj would be willing to sign them for you as well. So please take your copy now and come forward.